Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. My guest today is Laila Hansrod. She is a South African who recently completed her master's in Geography and Environmental Management at the University of KwaZulu, Natal, South Africa. In this episode, we learn how her high school geography teacher played a major role in her getting into this field as she birthed her love for geography and the environment. Laila's master's research focused on the role of NGOs in increasing agricultural market access among female smallholder farmers. She was inspired to focus her research on rural women as they are a marginalized population with not many interventions being for them specifically. Currently, Laila has a job at Jive Media Africa, where she is a project manager. She manages various science communication projects. One in particular is SPaza. A SPaza shop is local slang for shop where one can get the essentials, and the SPaza project provides scientific essentials to learners. This is a physical copy that is distributed to disadvantaged communities. Lastly, we discuss how Laila deals with the work-academic life balance, which sometimes can be so overwhelming. Stay tuned to hear more. Also, I apologize for a little bit of the sound quality, but trust me, it does not take away from this great interview. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. It's really exciting to talk to you. Can you just tell the guests a bit about yourself, where you're from, where you're currently based, and what you're currently doing right now?
Sure. So my name is Laila Hansrod. I'm born and bred in Pietermaritzburg. I've known you for almost my whole life. And so I've just completed my master's in Geography and Environmental Management. And I'm currently working at a company called Jive Media Africa. We do science communication.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Laila. So, like you've already let the cat out of the bag, we go back way back.
I know. I feel like we really have known each other for half our lives, and we've been through so much together. Like, I remember at university, we would see each other and we would catch each other up like, Anne, how are things going? Is university okay? And then we would complain about our lecturers and stuff.
True. Like, just to give context to the people, we've known each other since primary school.
Yeah,
Primary school, and then we went to the same high school, and then we did the same geography class. So, we go way back. Yeah.
Doesn't it make you feel old, Anne?
Oh no, please don't bring up the age issue. Don't do that. But anyway, this is not about me. It's about you, Laila, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. So I've told everybody that we go back in terms of our educational background, but I just want you to paint us a picture in terms of what you've studied and your education, and also some of the influences that actually got you into the sciences.
Sure. So, like we said, I did geography at school, and initially it was just something I chose because it was interesting to me. I always enjoyed bio, and I always enjoyed learning about the earth and the environment. And then as we got closer to matric and choosing what course we'd like to follow, I just applied. It was just random that I applied for social science in geography and environmental management, and I got in, and I did really well in geography in matric. And I'm sure you would understand, and I'll tell other people as well, our geography teacher was a big inspiration for me. She was just so, I loved the way I just love the way that she taught us, and she was so she made me passionate about geography. She gave me a better understanding of geography. And so when I got to university, that's the path that I followed, and I found myself here, and I did my undergrad in a social science in geography and environmental management. And then for honors, it was actually because the honors class is so small compared to how many people actually enroll for undergrad. And so it was actually, I didn't get into honors in the first round. I only got in the second round. And I was so relieved. I was so excited that I got into honors. And so I did my honors in geography and environmental management. And then I got a scholarship to do my master's. And so I just completed my master's as well. And I would say that, throughout my life, not only were my teachers an inspiration, but my mom as well. My parents would always reinforce for my sister and I that an education is so important, and being able to stand on your own 2 feet is so important. And, always learning, you should always be thirsty for knowledge. So that's what made me pursue my master's as well.
Fantastic, Laila. So you mentioned that you got a scholarship. What was the scholarship for?
Yes, so I had a NRF scholarship for my master's. I had one for my honors as well, but for honors I didn't apply.
Sorry, Laila. Can you just explain what the NRF scholarship is? Just the people who don't know what it is.
Sure, it's for skills development. So the one that I know that NRF has a lot of different scholarships available, but the one that I was awarded was ones for skill development and for rare skills, because my master's research it looked at female-headed households, and I think that is what they really wanted to focus on for that scholarship.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you, was there like a call for an application, or did you?
Yes, there was. So, so there was a call for applications, and I completed my application form. I had no intention of doing my master's. I just completed it for the sake of doing it because everyone else was as well. But I always knew that female-headed households was where I wanted to go, especially in rural areas and rural communities. And so I focused my application around my research that I did in honors. And I applied for the scholarship for masters. And in December, after I thought I was done studying, I got someone told me, like, have you seen the results? The results are out, and you have been awarded a master's scholarship. And so that's just how I got into my master's, and it was great, and it was surprising because I didn't expect it. So it was good. It was exciting.
That's very exciting indeed. So you've mentioned your master's research. So overall, you said that the focus was looking at the role of NGOs in increasing agricultural market access among female smallholder farmers. So now explain to me and to everybody else explain to me further what this research, just elaborate more, and why was it so important for you, and why do you think the NRF put such important emphasis to actually fund this research?
Sure. So, and I'll give you a little bit more background. So my dad is actually a smallholder farmer. Yeah. So, and when we were growing up, things would be like 1 month they would be amazing, and the next month, things would be really difficult. Like he would say, like some months, things were really well in his business, and in other months, things that he couldn't control would make it difficult for him. And so it was not necessary. It wasn't easy. And if it wasn't easy for him, I can only imagine what it's like for women who are already a marginalized community, and then furthermore, women living in rural areas. And my honors research looked at drought, the impacts of drought in female-headed households, and it was so eye-opening for me to actually go into the field. Like growing up, we always so shielded, and we're not exposed to these kinds of things. And so I did my research in Ikopo, and it was so eye-opening for me to actually go and interview these women and listen to their stories and hear how they live. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was amazing. I loved it. And then for my master's, it was just, I knew that I wanted to focus on female-headed households, because I just feel like in the community and in society at large, women are always just, we have to work twice as hard for everything. And it's ridiculous. It's like, we have to work so hard for the things that come so easily to men. And I always heard stories and I always saw the figures and the stats and the articles of NGOs who are doing these amazing things and holding these amazing programs and how they're helping people. And so I wanted to actually go into the field and ask people if it's really working. Are these programs that are supposedly designed for you, are they actually working? And so my research, I looked at women in female smallholder farmers in rural communities, and in actual fact, these NGOs, these programs are not working for them at all. It's because they aren't aimed specifically at women. They don't take into account all the things that women go through. It's just, it uses like a cookie cutter approach to every community, in every municipality. It doesn't take into account that they, first of all, don't even have water. They don't have the infrastructure for water. It doesn't take into account rural-urban migration, where women are, in most cases, women are the heads of their households. They don't have any assistance from males. It doesn't take into account the HIV burden, or that in most communities, it's mostly grannies who are looking after their grandkids, while the younger generation goes to cities to look for work. And the results that I found were that even though most people want to actually practice agriculture, they don't have the resources, and especially women, they don't have the ownership of land. They don't have access to the resources. They don't have water, which is a basic right. They don't have all of these things for them to even practice agriculture in the first place. And without all of these things, how are they even supposed to access markets? Yeah, definitely. And it's just, it was so eye-opening, Anne, and I loved every minute of it.
That's fantastic, Laila. And your results are very interesting, because there's so much work that we always say, like, NGOs are doing A, B, C, D, or we're funding A, B, C, D. Not to bash anybody in particular, but it's quite interesting that you say that, like, they were using a cookie cutter model. Not every community is the same, and just because it might have worked here doesn't mean that it worked here. So now I want to ask you, given the results that you found, did you then take it back to some of these NGOs and say, you know what, I've looked at the stuff that you guys are doing, and we found that what you're actually doing is not working? And if you did, were they receptive in terms of like trying to adapt in terms of to fix their models that they're currently working on?
Sure. So, and for this research, I looked at a specific NGO. I won't name them. And so I did have a contact person at the NGO, and I did get in touch with her, and I sent her my results. And like the response I got was, "Thank you for that. We'll take it into consideration." It wasn't really like, "Wow, thank you for this research, and it will help us in some way." It was just, yeah. So hopefully, I'm trying to publish my research, and hopefully that will help people, especially other people who want to continue doing research in this area.
I'm sure whoever you were looking, they were probably like, now people don't like to be told that they're wrong.
No, they don't.
So...
They're probably like, the student is just in my space. Can you just get out of my face?
Exactly. I think people don't like to be told that you're wrong. But you're right. I think it gives room for further research, maybe for other students in future to look at other NGOs, and then I think you guys can then create an evidence. And this is, and that's fantastic in terms of why research is so important. That I think once you've got all of this data to be like, NGO A, B, and C is not working, but money is being funded, so there's a problem here. So that's something that is fixed, that needs to be addressed. I think once all the evidence is there, that nobody can refute it and be like, oh yeah, thank you so much, we'll get back to you.
Exactly.
I think it's good to have somebody to be like, hey, Laila did that research, and so did that research, and so did the research, and they keep finding the same thing, which is really exciting. That's very exciting research.
Definitely.
Yeah, so anyway, so apart from the research, you just said that you just finished, right? You are currently working at a science communication company. But, before we get there, I know it's not easy to find a job. It's congratulations to have a job, because there's so many so many of us who wish we could get into these type of fields, but it's really hard to. So tell me more about, was it easy for you to get this job? Was it easy to find this job? Can you just tell us how that then went about?
Sure. So, and firstly, finding a job is so difficult, and it's so demotivating to constantly apply and get rejection. You get like rejections upon rejections. Sometimes you don't even get a rejection. You just like left hanging to wait and wait and wait, which is so frustrating. And so after I completed my honors, I began applying for jobs. I started applying actually in undergrad, and I never heard back from anyone. And that's probably one of the other reasons why I did my master's, because I had this opportunity through a scholarship, and I obviously needed the money.
Funding. So, thank you, NRF.
Yeah. And so that's another reason why I did my master's. And even after I received an internship while I was doing my master's. So at the time I had applied, I saw an advert on Facebook, I think. And I applied and I went for an interview, and I got it the first time around. I got the job, the internship the first time around, and I turned it down because on that weekend, like the weekend after my interview, I was getting married. And so like I thought to myself, will I manage to be married, to work, and to do my master's? And so I turned my internship down, and I was so upset. But I didn't want to go into something new being overwhelmed, and it was just one of those things. And then I saw it advertised again the next year, and I applied and I went for my interview and I got the job. And I can't tell you what it feels like to actually get the job or get a job. And so the job that I got, the internship that I got, was with Jive Media Africa, and it wasn't actually related to what I studied. It was in the field of science communication, and I had never heard of science communication before in my life. And I was just thrown into this internship, and I learned so much. And it's stuff that I would have never, my eyes would have never been open to that kind of stuff if I never found myself in this internship. So yeah, it was a moment where I was like, wow, all that studying paid off, something actually happened for me.
No, that's fantastic. So Laila, you've mentioned something very interesting, and it actually brings me to a question of mine. You said that when you initially got the job the first time around, you turned it down because you were getting married, and you brought up such an important topic of the work-life balance. Where you have the academic life, you have the work life, and then you've got your own personal life. Let's never forget, how do you manage to find that balance, or how did you manage to find that balance while you were doing all of that and the work?
Oh, and it was overwhelming. It was just it was at first it was extremely overwhelming, and it was very it was tiring because you get married and that's such an adjustment, and then you work, and then that's another adjustment. And those two things would have been fine, like being married and working, but then add studying to that, and then you just feel like you're ready to tear your hair out. I promise you, in the past year, I've probably developed like at least 10 more gray hairs than I had. So it was very overwhelming, but luckily my husband was also studying at the time. He was completing his accounting honors, and he was also doing articles, and I was in an internship, and it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was rough. But because we are both studying, and he's very understanding and very helpful, we got through it, and things are so much better now. Like even with my studying, you eventually get yourself into a routine that allows you to manage and balance all of those things. I think you have to always keep in mind that it's you have to do everything in moderation. You can't, if you need to go out, you have to bear in mind that you have to come back and do work, and you have to find someone who is willing to help you and who understands what you're doing, because it's not easy. And I admire women, because the things that we do, honestly, no one can understand.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And big ups, like you said, big ups to the both of you for making it work. I just did a master's and I'm by myself, and that was a lot. So I commend you so much. I thought I was gonna pull my hair out, and I was only doing one thing. So well done, girl. Like, you're well done.
Thank you.
But anyway, just to get back at your work, you said that you work at Jive Media, and you're managing a program called SPaza, and SPaza is a common name for a shop for the people who are not familiar with the South African slang. So it's like a common name for shop. So now, can you tell us more about your work there?
Sure. So I found myself at an internship at Jive Media Africa, and my internship was actually to manage a program called SPaza. It's called SPaza because it's a SPaza shop is usually where you would come to buy your essentials, and so you can find your science essentials at the SPaza shop.
Oh, fantastic.
So what we do is we realize that in South Africa especially, not everyone has access to the internet or access to resources like textbooks and like information that we often take for granted. So SPaza, we publish a newspaper every term. The newspaper is called SPaza Space, and it basically is aimed at low-resource schools around South Africa. It's a physical, hard copy of a newspaper that just keeps learners up to date with things that are happening in science, bursaries that are available to them, scholarships that are available, the different universities that they can apply to, that kind of information. And every edition of our newspaper comes with a worksheet. So each worksheet covers a specific topic, such as nanotechnology or chemistry, green chemistry, and it's breaking down the barrier. You know, as scientists, we often tend to speak in high language of jargon that people would not understand, and so it creates that space for learners to understand and interact and role model and become passionate about science. It gives them the opportunities that they would not ordinarily get to interact with scientists or to get in touch with us. We have a very open communication with them. We have a WhatsApp line where they're welcome to WhatsApp us for any kind of information. And our newspaper goes out to 10,000 learners across the country, and it works through our science. It works through our science club network. So if a school signs up the club with us, we send them the newspaper, and it's free. It's a free service. We just, we want to make learners passionate about science. You know, the next future scientist, the biggest scientist, could be sitting in a school that they just don't have access to the resources. So we try to help those learners.
Wow, Laila, that's such great work, and it's so important.
It's honestly my baby. I love it. I love I just love going. Sometimes we do visits to school, so I love going to schools, and I love seeing the look in kids' eyes. Like, wow, that scientist could be me. I could have these kind of opportunities. That could be me up there. That could be me at university. It's just amazing.
No, that's really exciting work, and big ups to you for the work that you're doing and for your company. And like you said, that it shouldn't be a child's fault that they are not born in a particular area, to not be exposed to these type of amazing careers that are out there. And I think it's really great. I mean, I'm also very passionate about explaining the diversity of the field of STEM as a whole. Like, it's just such a one construct in terms of what STEM is or science is, but it's just really cool that you have these things where you explain every single, different aspects in STEM. So well done on that.
Thank you.
So like you said that you love this and you really are passionate about it. But do you ever have those moments where you second guess what you're doing? You know, especially on those hard days.
Yeah.
So where you're like, why am I doing this? You know, and if so, if you're not doing what you're currently doing, what would you have wanted to do?
I think if I wasn't doing what I was currently doing, I'd probably be a teacher. I'd be a geography teacher.
Yes, Laila.
Yeah, but I think definitely I'd be a teacher. I just feel like it's so important, the kind of impact that you have on someone's life as a teacher, and what you can teach them and what you can impart on them. I just feel like that's so important. And, you know, like as with our geography teacher, she changed the whole course of my life. Definitely. I would definitely be a teacher. I feel the role that they play is so, and we would all not be here without our teachers.
True, that's very, very true. And I think you'd make a fantastic teacher.
Thank you.
So in closing, given your whole journey and where you are, what advice, I'm sure you already do that, but for example, when you go to the students, the schools, what advice do you give to learners or just anybody in general who's interested in this field of science and technology and engineering and mathematics, and also just specifically in terms of what you are doing? What advice would you give to them?
I would say, firstly, don't be discouraged and don't think that you can't achieve something. It sounds like such a cliche, but honestly, don't feel like you can't do something just because of your background or your circumstances. It's a lot of hard work hard, get as much experience as you can, even if that means working for free. Network as much as you can, get to know as many people as you can. And it's always what makes you, this sounds like such a terrible thing to say, but it's what makes you a preference when compared to someone else. Like what gives you that advantage? And it's always the experience, always the experience.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you for those words, Laila. It was so great talking to you and just hearing about everything that you've done, your whole journey. And I'm sure so many of us have learned something and we are inspired. And you're a great guest. No bias there.
And thank you for having me. I'm so grateful that you thought of me, and that everyone is now able to learn. And thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, my pleasure. And to everybody else, who's listening, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl Anne with an E. Until next time, bye.